Good morning, everyone, and guys, thank you for joining me. And wow, my inbox this morning had absolutely blown up with this, conscription, national service. I had so many emails of people asking me to do a video about this, so I thought, you know what, it's the morning, it's Sunday morning, I'll come and give you guys what I think. I'm only half caffeinated as well. So, let's just be clear, guys, okay, what I said about when this was all going around the press, I think back in October, I said I don't see conscription happening in the UK. I said what I do see is a type of national service and a huge recruitment drive. So that's kind of what we have at the moment. What I think is key to this, let's just have a look at it now. I usually do the tabs at the end, but seeing as it's one article I'm going off, I'll just read you the headline, guys. Sunak promises to bring back national service for 18-year-olds. So that's what he said. Nobody's mentioned conscription. That is the tabloids taking that up, as themselves. So that's what I said would happen back in October. Mass recruitment drive and national service for those relevant industry areas that we're lacking. So conscription doesn't work, guys. All right, it doesn't work. It's not anybody who's been in the military, anybody who who's got any kind of military experience at all. They know that there's two types of people. There's types who will fight and there's types who will not, and every variation in between. So consider the scenario then. You're sat on the back of a CH-47 helicopter. You're coming into a hot DZ, hot landing site. The helicopter's taking rounds. There's bad guys all over the ground. On the back of that helicopter, your guys are furious, they're raging, they're angry. As soon as they get off that helicopter, they know their job, they're not afraid of getting shot, they're professional, they're calm, they can apply applied aggression. And when they get off the back of that helicopter, all the bad guys are neutralized really quickly and it's tier medals. That's one type of guy on one spectrum. They're your tier 1 special forces guys. And then you've got the total other end of the spectrum, guys who won't even get on a helicopter, guys who won't even pick a weapon up, guys who will self-inflict pain, injury to themselves to not be there. So if we're conscripting these guys, they're just going to be a hindrance to these guys. And I know what you're saying, these guys are never going to meet, and they're not. And there is jobs in between, blanket stackers, pot washers, mesting repair people. But, people need to get out of this image that conscription works. We've seen from the conflicts in Ukraine that, the Russian conscripts that they're sending over, they're literally crying and come over to the, over to the Ukrainians and surrender straight away. And it's chilling to watch that, because these conscripts know if they go backwards, they're going to get shot. And if they go forwards, they'll probably get shot by the Ukrainians. So, they're terrified and they just want to surrender. They don't want no involvement. So those kind of guys are a hindrance. You don't need them. You don't want them. They should stay at home. They should, they should play Nintendo. They should go on their PlayStation. They should protest and do whatever those type of guys do. Okay, let them do whatever they want. They are not your war fighting guys. And right now, guys, unfortunately, we kind of need some more war fighters. So yeah, so this national service, guys, it is kind of a recruitment drive because they're not, they're offering from what it says on the, what I've read about it in the headlines, they're offering this. So they're offering these military placements to, I think, people 18 years old. But it's interesting that they're also putting the volunteering roles with the RNLI and NHS and things like that. Let's not forget, as things move forwards, we're going to get, what would it be called? Policy creep. In the military, you'd call it mission creep, where you go into a village to take a school or hold a strong point, then you end up with the whole village, then the whole town. Next thing you know, you're doing humanitarian aid. So you'll get policy creep with this, in the sense that it will start off with such placements as RNLI, NHS, first responders, and then that will move out to other things, to industry. It will, and it will encompass a broader spectrum of employment, if you want to call it that. So why do we need this then, guys? All right, there's one simple reason, and it's one word. It's called economics, namely war economics or a war economy. At the moment, we're just not being productive enough. That's the reality. Now, and again, this is it's quite strange. Look at all the things I've been saying over the last months, and look what's happening now. Look what's really, 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 really happening now. What did I say? I said Rishi Sunak doesn't want to be a wartime prime minister. Right, okay, he calls an election. I've been saying for the longest time that we're heading towards this conflict. We're looking at bringing national service back. Why? Oh, we just want to... No, guys, it's because everybody knows what's coming, and it's probably going to be here by the end of this year. You know, I said summer holidays, you know, it's going to be around that time. I can't see us getting out of September without being in a full-blown conflict. Anyway, so war economics, guys, all right? We basically need to put more money, more resources, more human manpower into creating things that help us for war. That's going to do two things. It's going to raise our GDP, which is a good thing. It's also going to give us the manufacturing capacity to fight a long war of attrition in Europe. Let's put this in the context that at the moment, Russia itself is outproducing all NATO allies by 3-1. So basically, you know, we're producing one bullet, they're producing 3. We're producing one bandage, they're producing 3. You know, so that's not feasible. This conflict, if and when it does happen in Russia, guys, it is going to be the likes that we've never seen on this planet before, and it's going to be a war of industry. So all these generals and colonels who stand up here and they talk about, yes, but we've got the Storm Shadow missile and we've got this and we've got... Okay, that's all well and good. What do we do when they're gone? Because what we're using are stockpiles. We've built those stockpiles up over the last, 20, maybe 30 years. Okay, once those stockpiles are gone, then what we're going to use? Well, we're going to have to make new stuff, and we can't build it fast enough. And when you take these components and you strip them away, it all comes down to two main things, really. Two main things. It comes down to gunpowder and explosives. So if you've got them in plentiful supply, everything else will fall into place. And the reality is there's only a limited number of manufacturers who can make those. Now they're making a lot of them, but as we're moving forwards, the demand is going to outstrip the supply. So we need a wartime economy. We need more innovation in our industries, and that's kind of these are the first footsteps towards that. So is this conscription? No, it's going to be like national service light. In my opinion, it needs to reach a wider age range. So we're just touching 18-year-olds, but at 18 you've got, I'd say at 18 you've kind of got the minimum emotional maturity and you've got the minimal physical attributes. I joined the military when I was 16, guys. Just leave that there. A lot of people do join at 16. But at 18, I think that needs to be widened. And I think it also needs to be widened to bring back apprenticeships in the military-industrial complex. So we've got a great way in the UK of, how do I put it, employing professors in the military-industrial complex. Employing people with all the degrees and all the master's degrees to do really menial jobs, to be like cutters or to be fabricators. When what we need to take young boys or girls off, straight from school, bring them into our industry and say, hey, you know what, Tommy, Sally, whatever, here's what we do. We're going to teach you how to do this job, and you're going to do it, rather than these military industrial complex people going straight to after they finish their degrees, they come out with a degree in X, Y, and Z, then they get a master's. Because the problem there is they expect 100 grand a year. A professor's not going to work for a military company on less than 100 grand a year. He's just not going to do it, and he's not really. And these professors don't really do much. They just sit lounging around, drinking tea and eating toast. The real work is done from the innovation at the base level, because it's those guys that know how these processes work. Let me give you another example. We spend far too much on defence. far too much, guys. All right. I mean, we spend the same on defense as Russia, and Russia's producing 1,000 tanks a month. They've got like a 1 million man army. We've got nothing like that. Yes, our technology is better, but what we're going to see, the question is going to be very soon, is high technology. Does high technology beat lots of stuff? And of course, lots of stuff is going to beat technology at some point, but then equally a technology sufficiently higher is going to be lots of stuff. So we're going to find that out pretty soon. So what the military industrial complex does, it will employ these professors, 100 grand. It will employ all these people with all the qualifications who've been to university, who've got all the education, who will expect a lot of money on their salary because they need to repay their student loans back, and that's a labour problem. What we need to do, we need to take people, straight from school, 18-year-old, and teach them how to build this stuff. And then they work at that factory. Because they're on the bottom floor, because they're on the processing line, they can innovate. They can push things forward. We need to let our military industrial complex make money. And I know what you're saying, guys. Oh, but they make so much money now. They don't. They don't make that much money. What they do is they waste money. There's a big difference. So they buy, first of all, salaries. They pay people too much. They're not worth it, guys. These professors are not worth it, all right? So they pay people for, first of all, salaries. They pay ridiculously high salaries. So if we take apprentices, that salary problem's gone. They use the most expensive materials from the best producers, from the best suppliers with all the branded names. It's not necessary. You don't need to do that. The reason they do that is because the government won't allow a high profit margin. They'll only allow a certain profit margin. So it makes no sense for the companies to use a lesser material. It makes no sense for the companies to innovate with new materials, new processes, and new systems if they're only getting their 8% profit. Why would you why would you innovate? Anyway, guys, so that's what a little bit of a rant on the military-industrial complex. I could do a video on military-industrial complex spending and how it's an absolute failure in this country. If you want, guys, let me know in the comments below. So remember, though, guys, after all this is a Conservative policy. And let's face it, the Conservatives are pretty much going to be over, at this election. I genuinely don't see them. They're not going to be in power. Rishi Sunak's not going to be in power. So it kind of asks the question, why is he released this, why has he said this national service is coming back? Well, in my opinion, this is a 4D chess move because they know that this has to happen. It's kind of like a defeatist's, final blow, I think. They're not thinking about themselves being in power. They're thinking about themselves being in opposition and being able to use this. So when they are not in power, and Keir Starmer has to come up, he has to say, "Hey guys, we're gonna introduce something called national service." The Conservatives can say, "Hey, you know what? You're stealing our policies," and that's kind of why I think this is going to be this is why they're doing it now. They're not going to be in power, so they're just going to use it as ammunition for when they're in opposition. And Keir Starmer has to do this because, guys, we need a bigger. If we're serious about fighting the Russians, and if we're serious about this conflict in Europe, and if we believe that it's going to happen, and we don't want to all be speaking Russian or be socialists, then we're going to need more people. We're going to need a more productive economy, and we're going to need a more productive war economy. In short, guys, we need more men and we need more productivity. And without that, we are just going to fall by the wayside. What we have on our side that's kind of, I guess it's a good thing. Well, yeah, it's certainly a good thing for us, is we have the ability to watch what happens in Ukraine. We can watch what happens then with the Russians if they come to the Dnipro, if they push past the Dnipro. We've got the ability to watch what happens with Poland. We can kind of do this from a protected position in the UK. Now, I know a lot of you guys are, you're saying, is the UK going to get attacked? Is the UK going to get bombed? I don't think so at this point. With the information I've got, something may happen on the global spectrum that I've not seen. Right now, the most vulnerable part of the UK is the Falklands. And I think if anywhere is going to get attacked by the Russians, it will be the Falklands. And then Argentina will move in, and that will be it then. They will take the oil. And that's the reason why, guys, right? It makes no sense for Russia to attack the UK with a military, with their military. All it would do, it would create a response from the UK. We would start firing at Russia. And, believe it or not, we have some good long-range capability. Excuse me. We have some good long-range capability. And for the Russians to open up a second front with the UK, that means they'd be fighting the Ukrainians in Ukraine, where they've got most of their manpower, invested. It means they would then be fighting an air war with the UK, and they don't have the capacity to fight an air war with the UK. So that's kind of where we are at the moment today. Will things change? Absolutely. When will they change? I don't know. I'd say things are going to be pretty much the same in the UK until after the election. I don't see anything happening until after the election. But remember what we said. Remember what we said like a couple of videos ago when we see that timeline coming in. Guys, when I tell you something and I repeat something that somebody else has said, it's because I feel it's going to happen, and it's because I can't put that out there myself. But if somebody else has said these things, they come out on, if they come out online and say things, and I'm really pushing them, then that means I kind of think that what they're saying is correct. So take of that what you will, guys, if you watch my other videos, and if you look back through my other videos. I did a video last night. What was it on? I think it's relevant to this. What was it on? Hang on. Yeah, I did a video last night on Starlink. Well, it wasn't on Starlink, but it was on one of the reasons why China, I do not feel at this point, are going to attack Taiwan. And it all comes down to their capacity and their communications. And they just don't have the communications network in place to be able to do this. But they are moving forwards. And at the moment, one of the only things the West has at the moment that Russia doesn't have, that China doesn't have, that nobody else has, is this Starlink communication system. And guys, I've said it before, let's stop pretending it's got a civilian application, because it's not. It's a military system. So what we need to do is we need our young kids coming out of industry and innovating in this space, so we can develop these, these communication systems. Good communications, you don't need as many soldiers, because you can put the concentrated soldiers in the right areas, and that's kind of what we need. That was a little tangent on Starlink, guys. Guys, if you've not checked my video out that I did yesterday, go and check it out now. I'll put a link at the end of this video up there or something. And that's it, guys. I will give you another video later on today. And if you've got any questions you need answering, please fire them in the comments and I'll answer them as best I can. And see you guys later.